Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Barbara's neat handwriting, always so precise, had been shaky as she explained why she was leaving. The words, "I've found someone else," and "you can keep the house," kept repeating in his head like a broken record. He stared blankly at his computer screen, the financial reports blurring before his eyes. The cursor blinked mockingly, reminding him of all the work he wasn't doing. A gentle tap on his shoulder startled him out of his daze. "Earth to Jason," Karen said, her green eyes filled with concern. "You okay? You've been staring at that screen for 20 minutes without moving?" Jason forced a smile. "Yeah, just lost in thought, I guess." Karen perched on the edge of his desk, her dark hair falling over her shoulder as she leaned in. "Come on, Spill, what's eating you?" He hesitated, then sighed. "Barbara left me." Karen's eyes widened. "Oh, Jason, I'm so sorry. When did this happen?" "Last night. I came home and found a letter." He ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of his wedding ring. It seemed heavier now, a reminder of promises broken. Karen reached out and squeezed his shoulder. "That's awful. Look, why don't we grab lunch later? My treat. You shouldn't be alone right now." Jason nodded, grateful for the offer. "Thanks, Karen. I'd like that." The rest of the morning crawled by. Jason managed to focus enough to get some work done, but his mind kept wandering. He couldn't help but wonder if Barbara had ever truly known him, known all of him. Had she sensed the parts of himself he kept hidden? When lunchtime rolled around, Karen appeared at his desk. "Ready to go? I know a great little deli around the corner." They walked in companionable silence, the early autumn air crisp and invigorating. The deli was small but cozy, with red checkered tablecloths and the smell of fresh bread permeating the air. After they ordered, Karen leaned forward, her elbows on the table. "So, do you want to talk about it?" Jason toyed with his napkin. "I don't even know where to start. It's like I woke up this morning and my whole life had changed." Karen nodded sympathetically. "I can't imagine how hard that must be." "Did you have any idea she was unhappy?" He shook his head. "I thought we were okay. Not perfect, but okay. I guess I was wrong." Their sandwiches arrived, and they ate in silence for a few minutes. Jason found he had little appetite, but forced himself to take a few bites. Karen set down her sandwich and looked at him intently. "Jason, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I've always sensed there was something weighing on you, even before this happened with Barbara." Jason froze, his sandwich halfway to his mouth. "What do you mean?" She smiled gently. "It's just a feeling I get. Like you're carrying a secret that's too heavy for one person to bear." He set down his food, his heart racing. I don't know what to say." Karen reached across the table and took his hand. "You don't have to say anything, but if you ever want to talk, I'm here. No judgment, I promise." Jason felt a lump form in his throat. He'd never told anyone about Jasmine, not even Barbara, but something about Karen's warmth and openness made him want to open up. "There is something," he said quietly. "Something I've never told anyone." Karen squeezed his hand encouragingly. "Whatever it is, it's safe with me." Jason took a deep breath. I have an alter ego. Her name is Jasmine." Karen's eyebrows rose slightly, but she didn't pull away. "Tell me about her." And so, in that small deli with red checkered tablecloths, Jason began to share the story of Jasmine. He told Karen about the first time he'd tried on women's clothes as a teenager, the rush of feeling right in his own skin for the first time. He explained how he'd pushed those feelings down, buried them deep, trying to be the man everyone expected him to be. "But Jasmine was always there," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Waiting. I'd let her out sometimes when Barbara was away. I'd dress up, put on makeup. It felt freeing." Karen listened without interruption, her green eyes filled with understanding. When Jason finished, she smiled. "Thank you for sharing that with me, Jason. It must have taken a lot of courage." He nodded, feeling both terrified and relieved. I've never told anyone before, not even Barbara. Do you think that might have contributed to the problems in your marriage? Karen asked gently. Jason considered this. Maybe. I always felt like I was hiding a part of myself from her, but I was so afraid of how she'd react. Karen squeezed his hand again. That's a heavy burden to carry alone. Have you ever thought about embracing Jasmine more fully? He looked up, startled. What do you mean? Well, now that Barbara's gone, you have the house to yourself. You could explore that side of yourself more freely. Maybe even become Jasmine permanently, if that's what you want. Jason's heart raced at the thought. I don't know. I've never even considered that as a possibility. Karen smiled. It's just something to think about. And Jason, if you ever want to introduce me to Jasmine, I'd be honored to meet her. For the first time since finding Barbara's letter, Jason felt a glimmer of hope. Really? You wouldn't think it was weird? Karen shook her head. Not at all. In fact, I have a brother who went through something similar. He's much happier now that he's living as his true self. Jason felt a wave of emotion wash over him. Thank you, Karen. I don't know what to say. She stood up and came around to his side of the table, enveloping him in a warm hug. You don't have to say anything. Just know that you're not alone, okay? As they walked back to the office, Jason felt lighter than he had in years. The pain of Barbara's leaving was still there, but it was tempered by a new sense of possibility. Over the next few weeks, Jason and Karen grew closer. They started having lunch together every day, and sometimes Karen would invite him over for dinner. She never pressured him to talk about Jasmine, but she made it clear that the invitation to meet her was always open. One evening, as they sat on Karen's couch sharing a bottle of wine, Jason found himself opening up again. I've been thinking about what you said, he admitted, about embracing Jasmine more fully. Karen set down her wine glass, giving him her full attention. And how do you feel about that? Jason took a deep breath. Scared, excited, overwhelmed. All of the above? She laughed softly. That sounds about right. It's a big step. He nodded. I've been dressing up more at home. It feels right. But I'm terrified of taking it further. What if I lose my job? What if my family disowns me? Karen reached out and took his hand. Those are valid concerns. But, Jason, ask yourself this. Are you happy living a lie? Is it worth sacrificing your true self to meet other people's expectations? Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. He'd been asking himself those same questions for years, but hearing them from someone else made them real in a way they hadn't been before. No, he said quietly. It's not worth it. But I don't even know where to start. How do I become Jasmine? Karen's face lit up. Well, that's where I come in. If you want, I can help you. Teach you how to walk, talk, sit, eat. All the little things that make up being a woman. Jason felt a surge of gratitude. You'd do that for me? She squeezed his hand. Of course. That's what friends are for. And who knows, maybe Jasmine and I will become even better friends. Over the next few months, Jason's life transformed. With Karen's guidance, he began to explore life as Jasmine more fully. They went shopping together, picking out clothes and accessories that fit Jasmine's style. Karen taught him how to apply makeup, how to style his growing hair, even how to modulate his voice to sound more feminine. At first, Jason only dressed as Jasmine at home or when visiting Karen, but gradually he began to venture out into the world. First, just quick trips to the grocery store or walks in the park. Then, bolder outings, dinner at restaurants, trips to the mall. Each time he went out as Jasmine, he felt more comfortable, more himself. The fear of being discovered never fully went away, but it was outweighed by the joy of finally living authentically. Karen was there every step of the way, offering support and encouragement. She helped him navigate the complex world of hormone therapy and other medical procedures that could help with his transition. When he had doubts or moments of fear, she was there to listen and reassure him. One evening, as they sat in Karen's living room after a day of shopping, Jason, now fully dressed as Jasmine, turned to her friend. "I don't know how to thank you," Jasmine said, her voice soft and feminine after months of practice. "You've changed my life?" Karen smiled, reaching out to tuck a strand of Jasmine's hair behind her ear. "You did all the hard work. I just gave you a little push." Jasmine shook her head. "It was more than that. You saw me, the real me, when no one else did. Not even Barbara." A comfortable silence fell between them. Jasmine found herself studying Karen's face, the curve of her cheek, the warmth in her green eyes. She realized with a start that her feelings for Karen had grown into something more than friendship. As if reading her thoughts, Karen leaned in slightly. "Jasmine," she said softly, "I hope I'm not misreading things, but—" Jasmine's heart raced. "But what?" Instead of answering, Karen closed the distance between them, pressing her lips gently against Jasmine's. The kiss was soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. When they pulled apart, Jasmine felt dizzy with emotion. "Karen, Karen smiled, her eyes shining. "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know how I feel about you, all of you." Jasmine felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I never thought I'd find someone who could love all of me." Karen reached up, wiping away a tear that had escaped. "Well, you have. If you want me, that is." As they held each other close, Jasmine marveled at how much her life had changed in just a few short months. The pain of Barbara's departure, once so sharp and all-consuming, had faded to a dull ache. In its place was a joy she'd never known before, the joy of being truly, completely herself, and of being loved for exactly who she was. Jasmine rested her forehead against Karen's. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Karen smiled, running her fingers through Jasmine's hair. "Whatever we want. We can take it slow, figure things out together. There's no rush." Jasmine nodded, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. "I like the sound of that. Together." They spent the rest of the evening talking, planning, dreaming. They discussed how to handle things at work. Jasmine wasn't ready to come out there yet, but with Karen's support, she felt more confident about eventually taking that step. They talked about the future, about the possibility of Jasmine fully transitioning, about how their relationship might evolve. There were still many unknowns, many challenges to face. But for the first time in her life, Jasmine felt ready to face them head on. As the night grew late, Karen insisted that Jasmine stay over. "It's too late for you to drive home," she said. "Besides, I'm not ready for this night to end." Jasmine agreed, her heart fluttering with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. As they got ready for bed, she marveled at how natural it felt to be here with Karen, to be herself without any pretense or hiding. Lying in bed together, Jasmine turned to face Karen in the dim light. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." Karen reached out, tracing Jasmine's cheek with her fingertips. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just grateful I get to be part of your journey." As they drifted off to sleep, Jasmine felt a sense of contentment she'd never known before. The road ahead might be long and challenging, but she knew she wouldn't be walking it alone. With Karen by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next, as her true, authentic self. The next morning, Jasmine woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Karen humming in the kitchen. For a moment, she lay still, savoring the feeling of waking up as herself, in a place where she was fully accepted. She padded into the kitchen, still wearing the silky nightgown Karen had lent her. Karen turned from the stove, her face lighting up at the sight of Jasmine. "Good morning, beautiful," Karen said, crossing the room. "Sleep well?" Jasmine nodded, wrapping her arms around Karen's waist. "Better than I have in years." They shared a quiet breakfast, talking about their plans for the day. It was Saturday, and they had the whole weekend stretching out before them. "I was thinking," Karen said, setting down her coffee mug. "Why don't we go out today? As us. A real date." Jasmine felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. "I don't know. I'm not sure I'm ready for that." Karen reached across the table, taking Jasmine's hand. "We don't have to if you're not comfortable, but I think you're more ready than you realize, and I'll be right there with you." Jasmine considered this. The idea of going out in public, openly as a couple, was both thrilling and terrifying. But she trusted Karen, and she was tired of hiding. "Okay," she said finally. "Let's do it." They spent the morning getting ready, Karen helping Jasmine choose the perfect outfit, a flowing sundress in a soft floral print, paired with comfortable sandals. As they did Jasmine's makeup together, laughing and chatting, Jasmine felt a sense of normalcy she'd never experienced before. Their first stop was a small art gallery in the city center. As they walked in hand, Jasmine felt exposed, certain that everyone was staring at her. But as they moved through the exhibits, she slowly began to relax. The other patrons were focused on the art, barely sparing them a glance. Karen squeezed her hand. "See? You're doing great." They spent hours wandering through the gallery, discussing the pieces they liked, sharing quiet moments of appreciation. When they finally emerged, blinking in the bright afternoon sunlight, Jasmine felt a sense of accomplishment. "That wasn't so bad," she admitted as they strolled down the sidewalk. Karen grinned. "Told you. Ready for lunch?" They found a quaint little cafe with outdoor seating. As they settled at a table, Jasmine noticed an older couple at the next table, giving them a curious look. For a moment, she felt panic rising in her chest. But then the woman smiled warmly at them. "You two make a lovely couple," she said. Jasmine felt tears prick at her eyes. "Thank you," she managed to say. As they ate their lunch, Jasmine marveled at how different this felt from her outings as Jason. There was a freedom in being herself, in not constantly monitoring her behavior or worrying about being found out. After lunch, they walked through a nearby park, enjoying the warm sunshine and the colorful fall foliage. As they sat on a bench by a small pond, watching ducks glide across the water, Jasmine turned to Karen. "I can't believe how much my life has changed," she said softly. "A few months ago, I was miserable, trapped in a marriage where I couldn't be myself. And now," Karen squeezed her hand, "and now you're free to be who you really are?" Jasmine nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat. "I never thought I'd have this. Someone who loves me for all of me, not just the parts I show the world." Karen leaned in. "You deserve all of this and more, Jasmine. I'm just glad I get to be part of it." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, they made their way back to Karen's apartment. The day had been perfect, a glimpse of what life could be like if Jasmine fully embraced her true self. Back at the apartment, they curled up on the couch together, both feeling the comfortable exhaustion that comes from a day well spent. "So," Karen said, running her fingers through Jasmine's hair, "what did you think of your first official day out as Jasmine?" Jasmine thought for a moment. "It was amazing. Scary at times, but amazing. I felt like myself in a way I never have before." Karen smiled. "I'm so proud of you. You know that, right?" Jasmine nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I couldn't have done it without you." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just enjoying each other's presence. Finally, Jasmine spoke again, her voice soft but determined. "I think I'm ready," she said. Karen looked at her questioningly. "Ready for what?" Jasmine took a deep breath. "Ready to transition fully, to live as Jasmine all the time." Karen's face lit up. "Are you sure? That's a big step." Jasmine nodded. "I'm sure. Being out today, being myself, it felt right. More right than anything has ever felt. I don't want to go back to pretending." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.